What's up, everybody? Welcome to PSI Love You XOXO episode 50. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside one of the future faces of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
What's up, Greg? Can you believe that we made it to episode 50?
I can't. It's weird that how Kismet works out sometime. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is the final episode of PSI Love You XOXO for 2020. We're going on a 2-week hiatus here for breaks and holidays and stuff. Even though I guess that doesn't even technically check out for this show since we're posting this during the break. But I digress. But as we record this, right after this, I have to go record Kind of Funny Podcast episode 100. So it's just interesting that we get to pause both the shows and end the year right on roundabout things. Now, Blessing, here's what I need you to understand today.
What's up?
Episode 50. What an honor. You know what I mean? I'm glad you brought this show back from the dead in your first year. I'm glad we've had such a amazing run of it. I'm glad so many people have flocked to it and enjoyed it and celebrated it.
You're really carrying the company on your shoulders, Blessing.
You really are. As the future face of video games, right?
Yeah,
future classic video games. If you missed the Game Awards, they gave Blessing a 45-minute segment because he's the future class of video games.
They did.
I want you to know how I love our repertoire, our back and forth. You know what I mean? The show we put on. I never want you to think that I'm ignoring you, that I'm distracted by you. But I'm playing a game today that will at some point need my attention. So when I drift off and I'm quiet, you'll have to understand what's going on, okay?
Okay.
I don't know if you remember because you haven't seen him in forever. This is my dog Portillo, right?
Yep.
He's 15 years old. He hates getting his nails cut. And they're really bad as of late. Like, they really need to be cut. But of course, you can't even take them to the vet to get cut anymore because the vet's like, hey, there's a pandemic. We can't be doing bullshit like that. So for the first time in I don't even know, 9, maybe 10 years, I've been cutting his nails again, which is a process, right? But I broke on this and I've come up with a new strategy that I've implemented today is that when he falls asleep, I go in there, right? And I go, yeah. And I get him. You know what I mean?
How does he feel about that?
He hates it. I've never seen a look of betrayal on this dog's eyes like what I've seen today. Because he was laying, I was doing Games Daily. He fell asleep to me here in his little dog bed to the left. And so when the show ended, I took off my headphones, went over there, cut the first nail, nothing. He's old as shit now, as you know, so he sleeps through everything. Cut the first nail, no problem. Went to cut the second nail, and he did one of those dream things where he moves his foot. Like he runs in his dreams and he barks a little bit in his dreams.
Like we all do.
Of course, moved his foot a little bit there and I cut it. And then the third one is when he woke up and he realized, wait, this is really happening. I'm not dreaming this. This nightmare is my reality. And the look this dog gave me.
Oh, no.
But to my credit, I've gotten both back paws done. So I need to continue on with my progress here. You know what I mean? I need to take, when the opportunity arises, knock it out.
I like that game. That's a pretty cool game. I mean, I feel for him because if I was in his position and I woke up to my father just cutting my nails, I would feel some type of way. I would feel similarly betrayed.
This is the thing. You know what I mean?
It'd be much weirder for your father to wake up for you, Bless, and your father is right there cutting your nails.
When I was a kid. So when I was a very, very young kid, right? My dad.
This is gonna be a great story. I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, go on.
It's not a great story, but legit, I do remember vividly like my parents cutting my nails for me because I'll let those things grow. And this is like me when I was probably 5, 6 years old. And I hated it because my parents would cut my nails so short, shorter than I think they should have. Honestly, as an adult, I look back.
How short are they going?
Very short.
They cut cuticles? What's up?
They're going almost too far. They're obviously they're not fucking going all the way in my nail, right, or anything like that. They're not fucking torturing me. But it was close enough as a kid to where I was like, this feels uncomfortable. I don't like this. This seems like you guys are going too close to the cuticles. You know what I mean? And as an adult, I look back and I'm like, no, yeah, I had grounds to be upset about that. But as a kid, it was one of those things of the parents are gonna parent. I'm going to be mad about this, but I guess they got to do what they got to do.
See, the problem is though that, eventually they were able to reason with you and explain to you, you need to have your nails cut. You know what I mean? I think about this often with Portillo as a 15-year-old dog that I could have, had a kid back then. And then I would have a 15-year-old child right now, right? That would understand things the way the Portillo doesn't. His nails, he has to walk different when they get they're this long. He's sliding sometimes because he's, hardwood floor or whatever. So it's this is bad. Let me help you. But he hates getting his nails cut so much, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas I wish I could just explain to him what I need from him.
Well, that was kind of the tactic I think my parents were going for was let's make him hate when we cut his nails so that he'll do it before we get to him. and make him do that on his own. Of course, you can't do that for Portillo because he doesn't have the opposable thumbs that you need to cut your own nails. But I feel for him. Like I know what it's like to be in his situation, and not that you're like, I know you're not probably cutting too close to the cuticles. You're not being crazy or anything like that.
I mean, this has got the guard on it. Look at that. You can't cut too close.
Okay, yeah. So you can even do that if you wanted to. But I do feel for him to be in the situation of,
Greg,
oh man, this grown man is cutting my nails.
I love how Greg trying to mess with the focus, instead of like getting the hand behind the object, he put it up to his face.
Kevin always says if it can see your face, that's what it's gonna lock onto. So I have to hide my face.
That's true.
Look at me. I'm a guy on a cop show. I got arrested. You know what I mean? Look at me, everybody. You know what I mean? If it was a black bar,
bar,
like
covering his eyes.
Okay.
Or I guess I'm like, well, I'm walking out of court after being, I've been found innocent, but like people don't believe me.
If Greg Miller's walking around E3 and he covers his eyes that way, nobody's gonna be able to recognize him.
It's true.
It's how you protect your identity.
Exactly. That's how people find me. Ladies and gentlemen, enough about that. This is PSI Love You XOXO, your PlayStation podcast, each and every week, except for the next, well, I guess 1 week. Again, it's weird. It feels like we're taking a bigger break, but we're the one show not taking that big of a break because we're going live on our normal day, Tuesday. The next Tuesday, no episode. Then the Tuesday after that, we're back. Every week we come to you with the nerdy PlayStation news you need to care about and know about, and we nerd out about. If you like that, of course, you should be part of the show. Patreon.com/kindafunny games. Patreon.com/kindafunny games. You can write in to be part of the show. You can be sending us your old PSN profile for us to dive deep into your trophies. Of course, you can be part of #PSILOVEPHOTOMODE and so much more. Remember, there's a bunch of exclusive shows over there and probably more stuff to come in 2021. So Patreon.com/kindafunny games. Of course, you get the show ad free, and usually you get to watch us record the show live. Today, of course, we're not, since there's such a big discrepancy about when it posts. If you have no bucks away, though, it's no big deal. YouTube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe each and every week for a brand spanking new episode of I Love You XOXO. As I've said several times, but to drive it home, final episode of 2020. We'll be back in 2021. And remember, Kinda Funny will be back on January 4th. That's Monday, January 4th, 10 a.m. Pacific time for our 12-hour 6th anniversary stream, where we'll tell you what we have on tap for 2021. I read Tim's script today for the video we have to make about it. Got choked up a couple times, so there's some good shit in there. Come and join us January 4th, twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. Obviously, Barrett will be on the ones and twos for social media, making sure you see all the stuff there on twitter.com/kindafunnyvids.
It's wild that we're about to hit 6 years,
Isn't it?
Yeah.
That's super wild.
Yeah.
And I like the idea. I like the idea of the audience trying to figure out, like, all right, what's the thing that made Greg tear up in the script? Like, what's happening in 2021? Like, what's about to go down?
Blessing. We got too bullish when we brought you on. I didn't expect you to become a future face so quick, so I need to end that. Because I'm a current face. I can't have new future faces.
Wait, so you need to end that. So is Blessing getting cut from 2021?
Tune in January 4th to find out what's happening. You know what I mean? Okay, Beast will take it back.
Okay, Beast doesn't exist anymore.
I know, but I'm gonna when I've been talking to Game Informer. All right, they're gonna fire Alex over there too. Then you guys will have to.
Oh snap!
Okay. It's a coordinated effort. Usually on this show we talk about what we've been playing. The only thing outside of Cyberpunk that I've been playing is this game called Back 4 Blood. We don't need to talk about it, of course. It's the Left 4 Dead spiritual successor. You can catch our entire Let's Play of it up on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. It's me, it's Blessing, it's Kevin, it's Snowbike Mike as we run through the alpha for Back 4 Blood. What did you think, Bless?
I really enjoyed my time with it. Like, historically, I'm not a Left 4 Dead person, and so this is one of the few times where I jump into that kind of game experience. And I was surprised by how much the mindless shooting of zombies, just felt fun, right? It was dumb fun. But that combined with some of the systems they put in there, like the card system specifically, which I think is like the big new thing that they're doing, I think that's very interesting because basically what it does is it allows you to have these different loadouts and these different systems for upgrades where you can build your character as you're going through and as you're progressing through levels and dying and coming back. You get to power up your character through these card loadouts, which I think is a really fun thing. I think added such a degree of, hey, your playthrough can be different each and every time because you're changing how your character plays. You're adding different upgrades. You are like it's stat buffs that are things like, when one of your characters fall, that then regens 10% of your health. It's stuff like that. Stuff that's fun. Stuff that almost reminds me of like a roguelike kind of thing. Like that type of stuff I really enjoy.
Yeah, it definitely, I think, as we talked about in the Let's Play, one of the things about Left 4 Dead that I enjoyed but never really drew me back was, of course, the reason to replay it with your friends was, oh, we'll play on a harder difficulty. Oh, we'll do something like that. And that's all well and good, but I was never about that. I was more about running through the, levels, the movies. They set them up once, then maybe I'd tool around with a friend. For Back 4 Blood's card system, it also not only affects your own character and who you're with, obviously, but then it also plays effects on the levels. So like it added in those zombies that were actually policemen. So they had like the riot shield hats on. So we had to knock those off first and things like that. And so I could definitely see, trying to build the best deck that then get those random cards. And then, you start with one of the cards of your choice, but then the rest of your deck is played at random as you go through the game. There's a lot of cool shit going on there, but check it out. youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Then look for more impressions, of course, in 2021 as we get closer to the June release. You should be like our Patreon producers, James Hastings, Sancho West Gaming, and Julian, the gluten-free gamer. Today, we're brought to you by HBO Max, Every Plate, and Jeopardy. That's right, Jeopardy. But I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's start the show with topic of the show. It's a special episode, Blessing.
It is.
Ladies and gentlemen, you probably know last week we said, hey, we're not doing a show this week. We need your input. Because the week before then, when we were like, what should the final show of 2020 be like? We said we should do the first ever, the inaugural PSILOVEPHOTOMODE Awards. And we're like, cool. We decided on 5 categories during the post show. We thought that would be enough and we'd put it out there. But the closer we got to recording, the more I was like, that's actually not a great way to do it. We should open it up for as many people to chime in and have a voice in this as well. So, of course, last week we put up a thing saying, hey, go to this website. You can put in all your information there. I did all that. I didn't think and put it up the normal way I put up viewer mail, where it was behind the Patreon wall. And then a lot of people were like, hey, wait, this sucks. And I was like, oh, yeah, sorry, not how I thought. I didn't think about the awards show part of it. I thought only about that. So we put it up for everybody. Thousands of you wrote in to support your video games that you think deserve awards in the PlayStation ecosystem. So thank you so much. Blessing, are you ready for the inaugural PSILOVEPHOTOMODE Awards?
Yes.
Barrett, hit the theme song.
If Persona 5 Royal doesn't win it all, I'm burning this company to the ground. There's your theme song.
Wow. And then the Joker laugh at the end. All right, strap in, everybody. Let's see how this goes. We asked you, ladies and gentlemen, the most underrated PlayStation game of 2020. There's a lot you can think of. There's a lot you can go to. None of you did that. In a landslide, everyone picked Dreams from Media Molecule. Blessing, what's your pick?
My pick is also Dreams from Media Molecule. Yeah, I agree with that.
My pick is also Dreams from Media Molecule. Blessing, why is Dreams the most underrated PlayStation game of the year?
Because it's just good, right? Like for my experience with Dreams, like I jumped into Dreams during the early access period, which was last year, and that led up into this year in the official release of Dreams. Dreams for me was the game that kept on giving, where obviously it's this user created thing. People can come in and put out their own creations using the Dreams tool set. And with that, I think came a lot of different creative ideas from just a large spectrum of players, where I'm coming in and I'm like, okay, cool, let me play a 2D platformer. All right, done with that. All right, let's go play a puzzle game. Okay, cool, let's play a shooter. And all that stuff is there. Like there's multitudes of different types of games that are in Dreams, and the amount of times I would run into a dream that was like a 30-minute experience or an hour-long experience or 2-hour-long experience that for me helped fill in an afternoon or fill in an evening and felt like a fun, satisfying experience. Like that happened tons of times during that period of me playing Dreams. And I either earlier this week or last week, I booted up Dreams just for fun, just to check things out again, because I was bored and looking for something to play, because I'd just beaten Cyberpunk.
Bored in the house.
Yeah, I was bored in the house. And I came across, I think I talked about this one on one of the shows, but it came across this dream called Relax and Unwind. Uh-huh. And basically it's this first person walking sim-ish type game, very short. It took me about 15 minutes to beat. And basically it was this loop experience where, compared to like Groundhog's Day or any sort of other looping narrative thing,
where you're repeating the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and so like you jump in and the game would repeat every 30 seconds. And so you had to have 30 seconds to do what you want to do. And basically the whole game was a game of me trying to figure out what the puzzle was. Where do I need to go in order to get to the next clue? And I would get to one clue and the clue would then point me to, hey, if you go over here and look up, you'll find a key to this thing over here. And so through each run, you are then gaining more information and new information to figure out how to get to the next point. And that took me about 15 minutes to beat. I beat it and I was like, what a cool, creative, what a fantastic time. And it didn't have to be this big release on PSN. It didn't have to be this thing that I'll dig through Steam and buy. It was just this thing that was available to me on Dreams. And Dreams is filled with that. And not enough people talk about it.
That's the biggest thing about it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's, as somebody who also picked Dreams hands down being the most underrated game for PlayStation fans this year. It's the fact that we talk about this all the time, especially right now, Cyberpunk, right? Of when will AAA games accept early access? When will they think of themselves that way? And I think Dreams, having been such a nebulous idea for so long, then being put into early access, took away the steam and the pomp and circumstance of what this game is. Because then by the time you got to the official release, right, and you got there and you're like, here it is, what, that was February of this year? Like, it gets there and comes out, and it has that. I remember being surprised on this show. It had like a month, it felt like, where people were talking about it and were playing it, and the online creators that aren't anchored in PlayStation like us were tweeting about it and seeing things they had found and doing all this stuff. But what happened, the way we all were worried it would happen, is it had its moment, but then when the next big AAA stuff came, when the next big, the things that we all turned our attention to came, it was so hard to ever get back to Dreams. Like, it's one that stayed on my PlayStation 4 the entire run of since I had it, but I hadn't opened it in quite a while. And then getting the PlayStation 5, I think on this very show a couple weeks ago, I downloaded Dreams again to the PlayStation 5. But, in the way PlayStation 5 storage management goes, it had to go. I had to boot it off the other day because I needed to get something else on there for review and stuff. And that's what's so sad about it. Right now I have indreams.me open, a site we talked about so much here. And even just glancing at some of the stuff they have up here, right? When I'm looking at Cyber Trigger, when I'm looking at Ratchet and Clank Bullet Heck, when I'm looking at Toya Destroya, like, these games look awesome. The art being made in here looks awesome. I want to get back to it. Adeoye Jr. writes into Patreon. Actually, none of these are Patreon, right? This is when I opened it up to writes into the show and says, Dreams. It's not a typical PlayStation Studios game. People complain about all the PlayStation games being third-party action games, but Dreams brings something completely different to the table. You can create and play just about anything you can think of. There is nothing else out there like Dreams. And that's so true. And it's something that makes it so rewarding and freeing, but then so hard to put into a box. Like what we've talked about from the starting, since we started the show up again and started talking about Dreams this year, what obviously we've been reminded of time and time again is how amazing Media Molecule's community is, how amazing the Dreams community is, right? I've been lucky enough to work with them on a couple of different projects in it. Just to have people tweet at me with levels and things like that. People respond to the show, the subreddit, all that jazz. They have such a dedicated community, but it's so hard for news and all the awesome things in Dreams happening to get outside of that echo chamber, and not using echo chamber as a negative, just the fact that what the community is.
Yeah, I feel it is such a Media Molecule game, and how creative and different and weird it is and quirky it is. And I think that's where a lot of the magic of it comes from. I remember at release, they put out Archdream, which was the Media Molecule created campaign for the game, right? And it was like, I forget how long it was. I think it was probably like, I imagine 2 to 3 hours. I remember playing it in one go and being like, wow, like what a fun, artful, truly special thing that isn't going to get enough attention and isn't going to get talked about, because it is this creation within this creation that is also hard to market and sell to people and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
But man, like what a great amount of special times I've had within Dreams. Like, there are multiple games and series I can point to within that game that I would take away as, oh yeah, this was a special game for me, this year, despite them being a game within a game.
And the hope is exactly what it was at the beginning of the year, that PlayStation PS Plus is this at some point, that they figure out a way to put if they make a big deal about a PlayStation 5 version, they give everybody a free version that doesn't have the complete access, but can get you through the door to get in there and experiment and see what this is and go from there. The PlayStation VR patch that had come out later gave it a boost, but it's one of those games in a year that was so stacked with amazing games that totally got overshadowed and I think became underrated, sadly. And I hope there's a bigger future for this. I know Media Molecule's committed to it. PlayStation has said they are too. But it's even like the little things of like, and I'm not even trying to we were gonna, not that we were gonna be the saviors of it or whatever, but I was gung ho on trying to get a Dreams game jam going when we got to the new studio. That's something I wanted to do because like I knew like Double Fine's local. I wanted to try to get them out, try to get other people who, you know, famous developers who would be down to come clown for a weekend. But of course, COVID and everything else gets in the way of that. Not again that would have saved or changed anything here, but it is that idea of like there are so many cool things to do with Dreams that I think we will see as you get further out with it. But
And I think Dreams is a game that doesn't have a timestamp on it. Like Dreams is going to continue to live, especially if and when I imagine they're going to do a PS5 version of this game. Once that comes out and more people get their hands on it and more ideas get the time to gestate and get created, like only more and more cool things are going to come out of Dreams. And Dreams isn't a game that you have to play in February to be part of the conversation. And so I think by the time we get 1, 2, 3 years down the line, I think the conversation around Dreams is going to continue to grow and get bigger and get more exciting.
Of course, as I said, Dreams won in a landslide. There's a few of these that are close that I'll give you some top 4s or 5s for. There's a few that were just like dominated. Dreams dominated, but there were some extra interesting picks in here, I thought. Vitz Patel wrote in with one that had juice, but not nearly enough to win, and it was Ghost of Tsushima. I think a lot of people enjoyed it, but mostly as a palate cleanser after the super heavy time that was The Last of Us. Not nearly enough people talk about Legends, aside from Blessing. I think this game needs to be heralded more for its merits outside of the context of being a Last of Us Part 2 follow-up. And I think Vitz is right. I put in here for some of them honorable mentions. For me, I put Bloodroots as my honorable mention. A game that I thought, about get the best time, you get the highest score. Really cool art style. Use anything as a weapon. It was a game that I thought looked neat for PAXs, but I didn't think would connect with me. But I spent an entire weekend loving it, and then no one ever talked about it again. And I don't think Metacritic is that high. I think Bloodroots is underrated. However, in the same breath, I think Ghost of Tsushima is as well. And I think it's been interesting to see the push and pull about it, right? Where it won the Gamer's Choice or whatever at Game Awards, right? Because like I think there is such a passionate audience for Ghost, as there should be. A game I adore and platinumed didn't connect with multiplayer that way like Blessing did, but Ghost is something special, right, Bless?
Yeah, well, no, I 100% agree. Like you mentioned, Bloodroots being your honorable mention, and I almost put Ghost of Tsushima as my answer for this one. But I think for me it is Ghost of Tsushima Legends that really took that game from being a game that I really enjoyed and had a great time with to being a game where now I cannot wait for the next one. You know, whether they expand it out and make them 2 separate games or do the same thing where they have them be one package again. Like the next Ghost of Tsushima, I'm ready for. And yeah, I have Legends written down here as my honorable mention for this. Because if we're talking about Ghost of Tsushima, I'd say the main game, like Ghost of Tsushima proper, I think got the love and support that it deserved. Like that's not a game I think by itself that I'd say is underrated. Like it's wonderful and it's great. And if we want to talk about like comfort games or games that you can go to and be like, I know I'm going to get a good experience out of this because this does everything that I need a game to do, right? Whether it's having a beautiful open world or satisfying combat or fun characters, all this stuff, right? Ghost of Tsushima does that. But man, that inclusion of Legends for me is something special because Legends, I think, is as good as the single player game, if not even somewhat better. Like I'd say I probably enjoyed. I'm probably gonna speak to my own experience. I know not everybody's gonna feel this way. I think I definitely enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima Legends better than proper single player Ghost of Tsushima. Wow. And I think that's mainly just because the way in which they adapted those mechanics and the way in which they built this gear system and this leveling system and the survival modes and story modes to be this thing that is constantly progressing and upping the ante and increasing the difficulty as you go. One is very satisfying, but then 2, the raid is fantastic. The raid in Ghost of Tsushima Legends is some of the most fun I've had in a game this year. And so I'm right there with you, Vitz Patel, in terms of Ghost of Tsushima overall being this underrated game in 2020, despite also having a lot of love for it.
And that's the thing is it had a lot of love, but I think when I think back to why I think it is an underrated game, I think back to when I was playing it and I remember starting it and I remember just like Vitz is talking about coming off Last of Us Part 2 and being like, ooh, faces don't look as good. Ooh, this is a video game. But then being, I don't know, how long did it take me to platinum that game? Maybe 30 hours or whatever it was. I don't remember. I have to look at my PlayStation. But like dozens of hours in and being like, that's okay. That's what I want. I do want to just run over there and clear that. I do want to just get stronger. I do want to go get the black armor instead of this white armor I'm wearing. Like that was what it was all about. And that was, like you said, I think comfort food, right? That was something you wanted to go do.
Yeah, I think for us being folks who talk about video games all the time, me and Imran have had this conversation before. Of there
Are you cheating with another host?
I mean, maybe, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but now you bring it up. But no, me and Imran were having the conversation of like, yeah, when critics often favor games that feel like they are going for something, or that feel like they're doing something different or dynamic or ambitious. And so The Last of Us Part 2 gets talked about all the time, rightfully so, because it's an amazing game. When we're talking about the best games of the year. And from the critic side, Ghost of Tsushima, I feel like gets overlooked a lot compared to the fan side. Like Ghost of Tsushima has plenty of fans. But on our side, right, like it's really easy to compliment and talk about how amazing Last of Us Part 2 is. Ghost of Tsushima is also a game that does pretty much everything right? There are obviously critiques that people can have about that game, but that game nails what it's going for. It nails the world. It nails the story. It nails the gameplay. And to that, yeah, coming off of The Last of Us, going into Ghost of Tsushima, I also had the similar thing of, oh, this might be kind of rough. But then as I get into it, I'm like, no, this is perfect. Like, this is the exact experience that I need for what this game is. And yeah, I think Ghost of Tsushima definitely deserves love for that.
Another one we're getting I want to give a couple shout outs here from the audience and all the people who wrote in. Donovan Lawrence wrote in and said Resident Evil 3 was seriously underrated this year. This was the aliens to Resident Evil 2's Alien, a remarkable action take on an already proven formula. People had too high of expectations because of the masterpiece that Resident Evil 2 was the previous year, but this game is still amazing regardless. And the multiplayer game they released with it had some great depth if you gave it a chance. I feel like people really slept on the game mostly because Final Fantasy VII Remake came out the next week. I don't agree. I didn't love RE3 that much, but I appreciate your passion for it, Donovan, and like the way you write in about it. Plus, I want your opinion on this one. Wild Junko writes in, it says Pathless. It was not underrated as in people who played it didn't like it. It's more that people who played it loved it, and that just not enough people played this amazing game.
I agree. Like Pathless is one I almost put as my answer also. Pathless I think is an amazing game. Like I stand by that. It is one of my favorite launch titles of the PS5. I think it's fantastic. I think it does so many things that for me hit hard because they are like Pathless goes for games that I'm a fan of. Like it goes for the Team Eco style. It goes for I've talked about how like I'm not like in love with Journey, but it goes for a lot of what Journey does because it is from forget the name of that development team, but it's a development team that has people who have worked on Journey on it. It's like Giant Squid or Giant Sparrow.
That game company? Giant Sparrow was Edith Finch and all that.
That game company is the one that did Journey.
Correct.
The developer that did that made Pathless also made Abzu, and they have people that have worked on Journey that are part of the development studio. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's a game. The Pathless is a game that got overlooked. Or not overlooked, just not talked about enough.
That's what I think. That's what I think for underappreciated means, right? Where I think Pathless is when you sang from the rooftops. I definitely saw a whole bunch of other people that we have in the industry tweeting about it, and it's on my PlayStation 5. I haven't deleted it yet, but I haven't found the time to start it. And in a similar vein, Ryan Talby writes in for Sackboy: A Big Adventure. This was my first and only PS5. This is the first and only PS5 game my girlfriend actually cares about, and she's always asking me when we can play. It looks absolutely gorgeous and is pretty clever in its puzzles. Also, I dig the music hard. Same thing here, where Sackboy is a great game. However, Astrobot's the free pack-in, and it is also phenomenal. And I think it snatched up that conversation about a platformer, about the PlayStation 5 game that wasn't Demon Souls or Miles. Like it got all that oxygen. Not to mention that Sackboy codes came later in the review thing. So you had reviews for Astrobot and Spider-Man out when it was still you could play everything. Then Sackboy drops codes right around the same time Demon Souls did. So it was one of those that I remember. This is one that we talked about on the show. I'm playing Valhalla, and I was playing something else all at the same time, Spider-Man, I think. Yeah. So I was just like going through this carousel of games, really enjoying Sackboy, but then moving on to something else. So I don't think it ever matured into the experience I thought it was going to be. And I want it. It's still on my PlayStation 5. It's one that I for sure want to platinum, hopefully maybe over break, but it's not. Even then, it's like my break concerns are Cyberpunk and maybe platinuming that, and then finally knocking out this 50th Hive and fucking Avengers sometime.
Mm-hmm. Giant Squid, by the way, is the studio I was thinking of that made the Pathless and Abzu.
Okay.
And they have people from that game company from in there.
Okay. Another one here that I know you've played and enjoy and have some shoes from or whatever. Paul Billis writes into the Patreon and says, Fuser. Fuser is one of the most powerful yet accessible music creation tools I've ever created with, and still has a pretty decent game attached to it. I was really surprised it didn't at least get Family Game nod at the Game Awards. Blessing, do you think Fuser has been overlooked that way?
I mean, I don't think it's been overlooked. I just don't think I think it's a hard game to come out and have that big splash that maybe you'd expect from a Guitar Hero or similar rhythm games. Fuser is awesome. I really enjoyed it. I think it has some way to go in terms of fleshing out some of the multiplayer stuff, but all in all, as its own game experience, like, yeah, I 100% agree with Paul Bills here, right? That, like, as a music creation tool, it is so accessible and so satisfying to use, and all the mixes that you make in that game somehow sound amazing, even if you have little to no skill being a DJ or a music creator. Like, somehow they've found a way to make that experience satisfying. And so, yeah, shout out to Fuser for sure.
Two more I want to get in here for underappreciated thing, and then the rest will go a little bit quicker, I think. Well, maybe not actually. What do I fucking know? Oscar S writes in and says 13 Sentinels. Is it Aegis Rim? Aegis Rim? I'm bad.
I always say Aegis Rim, but I'm not positive.
This game isn't for everyone, but it should be. Vanillaware makes one masterpiece every generation, and this is the PS4 one. The story is unbelievable. The art is fantastic, but the gameplay will not seem like it's accessible or friendly to people. It is, though, and if you need some twists and turns in your life, play this game as it's so overlooked. As we record this right before the show, Polygon put up a piece talking about how 13 Sentinels is the best PlayStation 4 game of the year and nobody played it. It made me ask Blessing if he had played it, and you were like, no, but I got it here, and I was like, I got to download it. So I downloaded it. It's another one, hopefully, for the holiday pile. It's been interesting to see. A lot of 13 Sentinels got written in here. Of course, again, Dreams dominated the conversation, but definitely I've seen this on the radar as an underappreciated.
Oh, yeah. And it's one that I want to get back to. I did put in about like a couple hours into it. And those couple of hours, I was like, yeah, this game looks fantastic, and the story seems good, and the voice acting seems great. But like, I believe when it came out, another big game came out right after it, and I ended up having to shift my energy to that one. But over the break, I do want to get back into this because I've been seeing more and more people talk about it, and it seems very much worth playing.
Dominique Young gets the final say here and says Persona 5 Royal. To me, it somewhat feels like this game came and went without too many people talking about it, and that's a shame. I spent 150 hours and got the platinum, and if not for Miles, this would be my game of the year. Obviously, there's no shortage of love for Persona 5 Royal around here, whether it be Blessing Barrett or my same 30 hours I've played twice now. But hey, I have the journal. I'm set to go back, Barrett.
All right. I trust you.
Thank you. I appreciate. I'm not yanking your chain here. It'll happen. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this falls in the same boat as a underappreciated game. And Blessing, I think you probably have more to say, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I mean, Barrett, would you say it's underappreciated?
I would, because I think the conversation usually around Persona 5 Royal is like, oh, I played the base game, or oh, I know how long this game is, and it just adds some like story DLC, blah blah blah. It's not like a big release, but to me, it like overall improved the mechanics of the game. It added, I know it tires people out when I say this, but it added 20 hours of new story content, which I think completely kind of changes the conversation of like kind of the overall themes of Persona 5, but like kind of adds on top of things the base game had in really creative and engaging ways, and gives an ending that I loved the ending of the base game, and I was worried that they were gonna like not nail it as well as I thought the base game did, and they somehow improved it tenfold. Like, this is the way to play Persona 5. Like, people don't, I've said this a million times, and people keep asking me, "Hey Barrett, should I play Persona 5? Like, should I just play the base game, or should I play Royal?"
Yeah.
It's like, the answer's always fucking Royal.
It's
if
always
you played
Royal.
Persona 5 a couple of years ago and you only put 20 hours into it, and you kind of want to get back into it, play Persona 5 Royal. It is the way to play Persona 5 now. It is the definitive way to play the game.
Yeah,
I don't think I don't think enough people understand that until they actually play it. So in that sense, I would say yes, it's underrated.
Yeah, like story content wise, and I think from the ways in which they improve so many of the gameplay mechanics, like it's just a far better experience than the base Persona 5 game. And yeah, I think like I would say it's underrated in the sense that I think I legit think Persona 5 Royal should be more in the Game of the Year conversations. But outside of that, I think the reason why we don't hear as many people talk about it is because that conversation came and went with the Persona 5 in 2017. And so now that we get Royal, I think the conversation isn't as hot because people, for the most part,
it's the Game of the Year edition.
It's
just an expansion thing. Yeah,
exactly. And like, I mean, and it is right. Like, it is an expansion, and it is this improvement over Persona 5. And so I don't think it necessarily needs the same amount of retreading that conversation of talking about the story and all that stuff. But yeah, no, I'm with the question as far as no, yeah, like this is one of the best games of the year, like easily for me.
Well, congratulations to Dreams, the most underrated PlayStation game of the year here at the XOXO Game Awards, or awards, whatever we're calling them. I don't know. We'll make it up. Next trophy is the best PlayStation trophy list. Again, this one had a whole bunch of games submitted. There was a very close runoff that came down to just a few votes. If you ever think your vote doesn't matter. So let's start with us this time. Blessing, I'm saying Astrobot. Astrobot, the Astro's Playroom. God, it's always so confusing. Yeah. It's so confusing after Rescue Mission. Astro's Playroom. For me, the best way to talk about it, I think, is to put it up against another great list, which for me was Ghost of Tsushima, and I give that an honorable mention. Right, for me, as I ran through it, both Ghost and Miles were in this conversation in terms of what I wanted to pick, but in the end, I went with Astrobot because. I'm just going to keep calling Astrobot. Everybody's going to have to suck it up. The reason being is that Astro's Playroom is the perfect amount of content, the perfect trophy list, the perfect, hey, go do everything, but you won't be annoyed by any of it. Hey, you might be annoyed by time trials. That might be something you don't want to do. So guess what? We're putting those trophies as DLC trophies. They don't even affect the platinum. Like, the platinum is strictly about you going through your PlayStation nostalgia teamed up with amazing levels and amazing level design and references and winks and nods. And as I've said before on the show, right, Astro's Playroom in general, such a love letter to PlayStation, such an example of PlayStation getting what they are and what their nostalgia is. And it's not necessarily the characters. They're a big part of it. It's also the hardware. It's also the marketing. It's also all these different things that you get out of the, machine, the claw machine downstairs in the playroom. It is going in the very end of it, going and fighting the dinosaur, both in, original PlayStation graphics and then in, the end world, what it looks like on a PlayStation 5. Like, at no point was I left going, oh man. And as much as I loved Ghost of Tsushima and I loved getting that platinum, there was that point of, all right, how many? All right, 10 more fox dens. All right, let's fucking go get these foxes. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to follow them through. As much as I love Miles Morales, there was, and I got to do a New Game Plus. And sure, I was able to skip everything really quickly. And it was nice to see the story again. And it's a short game, but I still had to go through and do a New Game Plus on that. Astro, I didn't have any of those problems. Astro, and it's not even getting a nod because it's short. It's getting a nod because it's perfect for the game it's a part of.
Yeah.
That's why I'm voting Astro.
Astro definitely has one of my favorite trophy lists of the year. And it's also very satisfying when you get to pick up, if you're paying attention to the trophy list, right? And you go to the trophies and you can do the trophy where you pick up the platinum trophy that's in the actual playroom area. It can use that and then like get your platinum at the same time. I always think that's a fun bit with that game. My pick for this category is Persona 5 Royal. Mainly because for me, when it comes to figuring out what games I want to platinum, usually it comes down to, all right, how much fun am I having in this game? And do I want to is this the type of game that I want to get the most out of the experience? Sure, like, do I want to see every corner and do every single thing? And Persona 5 Royal, with its trophy list, does a good job of, hey, we have a bunch of trophies that are tailored toward you experiencing the new features in Persona 5 Royal. And so we're going to take you to Kichijoji, and we're going to take you here. We're going to take you fishing, and you're going to do all the cool different activities that you might not necessarily do if you were just playing the game by yourself without the guidance or trophies. It does that. But then also I'd say it's a very satisfying trophy list because you do have to put in like 120 something hours to do it. But also, like, you're not going too much out of your way to do it. Like, it's not like a collect every single fill up your compendium, which I'm sure is a trophy in the base Persona 5 game.
I think there's something like that in the
which would be torture. And so I'm glad it's not that. I'm glad they went with, let's just give people reason to do all the cool activities that we have in this game.
Yeah, you can naturally do it in like one playthrough, and what you were saying with it being satisfied, it was satisfying. It was like one of those moments when like I didn't mess with the Reaper at all in the base game, but with like how much I wanted to make sure I was leveled for the new story content, which was going to be a little higher. I wanted to make sure to grind, and then like when I finally felt like I was ready to take on the Reaper and I took him out, I was like, oh, I'm getting this fucking platinum. Like this was the moment here. Like all I got to do is story stuff now, and this is great. Like it's really, really fun.
It's a very good trophy list.
Well, Blessing, the deciding vote would come from the audience then, wouldn't it? I'll have you know, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please, that number 2, the runner-up in a very close race, thank you, Barrett, for the drum roll, was Astro. Astro's Playroom was number 2, meaning that the audience voted for Ghost of Tsushima.
Whoa.
That's right. It's a 3-way tie, ladies and gentlemen. Ghost of Tsushima being the one that the audience voted for. Kurt wrote in and said, Ghost of Tsushima, it wasn't an easy platinum in the sense that it didn't take work. It was an easy platinum to want to get, and it felt like you were still having a rewarding experience while chasing the trophies. Meanwhile, Salvatore said, Ghost of Tsushima, nothing is missable. Can be done just by 100% of the game, essentially. A couple of other ones that are easy to get through, fast travel points, etc. How a trophy list should be. And again, it was a rewarding trophy in the way that Ghost's Platinum was to play through it and experience everything, right? To go through and just play the game, accomplish what they wanted you to accomplish in the game, which I appreciated. I just thought it kind of wore thin at the end. Blessing, did you Platinum Ghost? Did you ever go back for that? I forget.
No, I did not. For an open world game to make me want to 100% it has to be solid. And so I did not.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we weren't expecting this. We thought, the game that gets 2 out of 3 votes, that would be the one that would win. And so you say, how do you break a tie like this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we turn to IGN.com's Janet Garcia. Hello, Janet.
What's good?
Not much. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm excellent. You're on PSI Love You XOXO for the inaugural PSI Love You Awards. We have to Blessings here too. So is Barrett.
What's up?
How's it going?
Talk to her.
I just want to say
I was just thrown off because like I have like don't show non-video participants in here, so like I didn't even know anybody was
That's what I do. I was just taking them back. People on the show. I keep you on your toes.
Right.
So Janet, somebody on Twitter, and if I was really thinking this through, I would have found it before the show started, but it came to me too late in the day. Had said that, this is gonna be a lot of fun. You should get Janet in for tiebreakers. And I said, that's a great idea, and then forgot to talk to you about it until literally we were recording the show. So you have to decide the winner of this category. You have 3 choices. You can only pick one, all right? It's best PlayStation trophy list of 2020. Right now, your nominees, for you to pick one that is the winner, is, of course, Astro's Playroom, Ghost of Tsushima, Persona 5 Royal.
Oh, man.
It's tough. I want you to show your work as well. You have to explain why you think.
Has Janet even played Persona 5 Royal?
How dare you? And you're correct in that accusation. I have not played Persona 5.
Hey, nobody says the perfect system. All right, we're here to have fun.
Should I just Google the trophy list and then just come up with?
If you
just trust me when I say it's a very good trophy list.
We're all in a very rare situation here where you have 3 people here who can talk in depth about all of these things. I guess. Well, I guess yeah. So like, we can make cases for them if you want.
Oh yeah, I would love to hear the cases and then let's make a ruling on that.
Let's keep them short. We did it already. All right, Bless. So like, what do you want to say, Barrett? Can you give me 30 seconds on the clock and we'll explain each one to her?
Give me just a second to pull up a timer.
I'll do Astro and I'll do Ghost.
Okay, cool. I am ready. So, Blessing, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Start in 3, 2, 1. Go.
Persona 5 Royal's trophy list is not annoying at all. I think that's the best part about it. Is it completes the best of both worlds, where it doesn't force you to replay the game. It doesn't force you to beat things on hard. It doesn't force you to complete the compendium. You can get Persona 5 Royal's trophy list, the platinum, just by doing all the different cool things in the game. And I think that's a very satisfying trophy list. On the other hand, it is also very satisfying to where you do have to beat the game. You do have to put in 100 and something hours to get all the trophies in the game.
Time.
All right, cool. I'll do Astro first.
All right, cool. 3, 2, 1, start.
Astro's Playroom is a love letter to PlayStation fans. It's all about nostalgia, and the trophy list does the exact same thing where it perfectly mirrors what Astro does. In the same way Astro doesn't hang out too long, the trophy list doesn't hang out too long. You enjoy going through the entire time, and you never run into something you're annoyed by. You get to enjoy the levels, you get to enjoy all the love letters, you get to enjoy all the references, you get to enjoy all the different puzzle pieces that are hidden around, and you're never left going, oh man, I got to do that. Oh man, I have to go do that. It's not that it's short either. The game's short. The trophy list is perfectly paired with it in terms of, hey, this is a 4-hour game, right?
Sorry,
but you can double.
You won 4 seconds overtime. I'm sorry.
Well, I was waiting for you to call me.
So
thank you very much.
no, I was in
Forget the last 4 seconds, Janet.
Yeah,
What you said.
Strike it from the record. Even though Blessing seemed like he had way more than 30 seconds.
I was he hit like 28 seconds. I'll say so. He
Yeah,
was on,
I only stopped because Greg Miller did the watch thing. I could have used the extra 2 seconds.
I didn't stop Greg because I was so entranced by his argument. But
thank you very much.
Resetting the clock. Ghost of Tsushima. I'm gonna keep you at 30 seconds, starting in 3, 2, 1, start.
If you like Ghost of Tsushima, you will love its trophy list because all it's asking you to do, Janet, is play the game. Just go through and do all the things that Sucker Punch put into this game. Go meet the foxes, go kill the people, go, get all the different clothing options. It's asking you, hey, do you like this gameplay? Then we will give you a trophy list that leans so hard on that gameplay. It will just be rewarding you for doing the very mechanics we built here at Sucker Punch that we made for you, that we want you to go do. Again, it's just getting lost in that world.
Time.
This man described every trophy list just now.
Wow.
Vote for Ghost, right? What do you want me to do?
I would also like to hear personal insults tossed at the other person for their reasoning. No. Okay. Well, I'm going to take Ghost out. I'm going to do process elimination. Ghost is gone because I just thoroughly don't think that game is that good. Which I know is an unpopular opinion. But
this is the person we brought in?
I find it
one on Twitter said if there's tiebreakers, get her.
Have been made. Mistakes have been made. We're moving on. We're keeping it moving. Yeah, and I also just find, I think Ghost is kind of it's very classically a game. Like you're collecting things, you're checking boxes. Next up, I'm torn between Astro and Persona because Astro's is such a fun, joyous experience, and it's interesting because it's like pairing one of the shortest PlayStation experiences with one of the longest PlayStation experiences. I'm gonna have to go. Oh man, it's difficult. I'm gonna go Persona 5 only because of the I think part of like trophy hunting, and I'm not a trophy hunter by any means, but I've thought about it like many a time because I think part of like getting a platinum is just getting to know a game really thoroughly. And I feel like with Persona 5, especially like Royal specifically, it's all about diving deeper into that world. And I think the platinum and the trophy list on that warrants that more than Astro's, where you are diving deeper into the world, but it's a lot of like cute, kitschy things, which can be fun, but it's the reason that there's a reason that everyone kind of has it. And I think part of it being a good trophy list is it being dynamic, but also being really rewarding to get. So I'm going to go with Persona 5.
Good choice.
Thank you very much, Janet. We needed you for that tiebreaker. You are a just and fair judge. We appreciate that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You're at work. You're doing work, right?
Yeah, I'm on lunch right now.
Okay, cool. I have another tiebreaker. Spoilers. There is another tiebreaker. Do you want to just stick with us for that category right now?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, cool. And also, if you're one of the people in the chat going, I can't believe, not the chat, I guess, the comments, that's how this works. I can't believe this woman who doesn't like trophies is deciding she doesn't even like ghosts. You can all blame the flannel death on Twitter. She's the one who tweeted, I'm still pulling for Janet to appear on the episode and be the tiebreaker.
Who are these French people commenting in our YouTube
who
don't like Janet?
Bonjour, trophies.
All right, so the next tiebreaker we'll need you for, and the only other one, because it was decisive on the final one or two, is the best PlayStation Plus game of 2020. For your eyes, Janet, I'm going to throw you something here into your DMs that was made by @Joseph2411 on Twitter. For some reason, and Blessing, you can click on this too if you haven't already. Joseph went above and beyond for PlayStation Plus and broke down all the stats for what happened with PlayStation Plus in 2020, including the collection, including a giant Excel spreadsheet, including all this different stuff. So I'm looking off of his PlayStation Plus 2020 in review, where he lists all the games by months, their OpenCritic, their Metacritic. He then says what the averages are, then breaks it all down. He does all this crazy stuff. But looking at all the games that came out this year to PlayStation Plus, we asked let's give out, we decided we're going to give away the best PlayStation Plus game trophy here on the PSI Love You XOXO Awards. Blessing, what did you pick?
I picked. I'm like clicking back to the dock because I have so many tabs open.
Yeah, whatever opens.
I picked Bugsnax. I think Bugsnax is easily the best PlayStation Plus game, and I say easily, even though I have an honorable mention. My honorable mention is Shadow Colossus because that came out on PS Plus early in the year. But I think if we're talking about PS Plus and what's special about PS Plus and why I think Bugsnax encompasses that is when we think back to this generation of PS Plus, I think if we're to ask for the shining example of a PS Plus game, we'd probably point to Rocket League because Rocket League was a game that most people didn't have it on their radar. People weren't really paying attention to it like that, and it came out on PS Plus, and that then allowed that game to blow up beyond I think what even the developers would have imagined beyond. And so like that's awesome because it PS Plus is this avenue through which revolution can happen. I think Bugsnax throughout this year, I guess not even throughout this year, right? Since June has been this thing of, wow, look at this game. This game seems quirky. This game seems weird. This game seems cool. We want to know more about Bugsnax. We want to know exactly what Bugsnax is. For it to come out,
a horror game?
I still think it's a horror game. Leading up to the PlayStation 5 launch, right? Bugsnax has been inherently tied to it because it was at the PlayStation 5 launch. I was gonna say E3, but I guess it wasn't E3. The launch presentation that happened in June. With that, Bugsnax has kind of been this interesting game, has been in this interesting place because it has had to compete against games like Miles Morales and games like Demon Souls and games like I guess The Pathless and like all these other launch titles that are coming out on PS5. Making that game a PlayStation Plus game at launch has allowed it to live and breathe and feel like this cool like half meme, but also half really fun, really cool game.
It got into more people's hands, right? That's the power of PlayStation Plus. And when you talk about Rocket League, it is this idea that it was able to get this game that a lot of people might have overlooked into people's hands.
Exactly. And so I think Bugsnax kind of embodies what it means to be a PlayStation Plus game, or at least a very successful PlayStation Plus game. So that is why Bugsnax is my easy answer.
See, I found this category especially hard, especially looking off the list that Joseph sent us. And when you actually look back at everything that came out this year, and Bugsnax, sure, I think you make a case for it. I think Fall Guys, you can definitely make a case for in the Rocket League sense. But I took it more literally and looked through it, and I was like, what do I think are the best games that came to PlayStation Plus? And for me, it was Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection. Like, I know PlayStation Plus isn't free, but when you talk about PlayStation Plus, you're talking about your free games of the month, right? Like, to get Uncharted, to get 3 amazing games. Shut up, everybody. 3 amazing games, for free and have them ready to go. I think pound for pound, that's the best deal in terms of hours, in terms of getting to see a studio mature, getting to see a character change, getting to see a story really get cemented in the annals of like what PlayStation is and what nostalgia is going to be and what the face of that company is. When you look at Nathan Drake and get ready for the movie and all that crap, like I think there's a ton of amazing games. I think as I look through what is the ties here, you can't lose on any of these choices. But for me, I thought Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection is the best PlayStation Plus game that came out this year.
2 things.
Or came to PlayStation Plus this year.
1, Uncharted 1 is an amazing game.
Yeah.
Okay.
For what it was.
I mean, I'll let that slide. 2, I find this fascinating.
Both of you were 3rd grade when Uncharted 1 shipped, so shut up. You don't even know.
What, 2007?
But I think that's actually what makes it, and that's what's so interesting about like younger people, no shade, younger people coming to the space. It's like we don't have that like nostalgia element. So if like for me, I played all of the Uncharted games like only like 2 or 3 years ago, and they felt very different than those who played them when they came out. And yes, and even though I can acknowledge that like, oh, I can see this probably was really cool at the time, like when we're talking about where does it belong in like our modern conversations, like I think we do have to let that go a little bit and say, okay, well, but unless it's like a when it came out list, it's about like what it is now, which it's fine.
They're fun summer blockbusters for what they were,
Sure. And I'm not going to, I totally get what you're saying. Remember, I played through Halo Combat Evolved for the first time this year, and that game is dog shit in every fucking way. Yeah, I totally understand not being
finally, this is a PlayStation podcast.
You know what? Y'all come at me.
Restart form.
Y'all come at me with like, oh, Baird's got the worst takes. It's kind of funny. Listen to this man and his Halo takes.
Modern terms. Combat Evolved. I'm not saying the franchise.
I mean,
I'm saying level design, how guns feel in it, how driving feels in it, how the story is told, everything about it.
I know this is a PlayStation podcast, and so I appreciate this energy, but I will say, if I'm comparing Halo Combat Evolved to Uncharted 1 by modern standards, it's Halo Combat Evolved. It's a way better playing game than Uncharted 1 by modern standards.
What a weird and specific would you rather? So is the toss-up here Uncharted or Bugsnax? Is that the toss-up?
No. You still have one more. The audience voted as well. And the audience in a landslide said Fall Guys, which of course I see 100% in terms of Fall Guys being this year's Rocket League and Fall Guys having that moment where it was everywhere and everybody wanted to play it. And it was I think a huge part of that, of the fact that it was just PlayStation Plus. It was just free. You could jump on and get it. And granted, I mean, there's a PC version as well, but you can't deny, I think, the reach of PlayStation Plus and getting it onto that many PlayStation 4s definitely moved the needle for Fall Guys. And it is a fun game. One personally that I cooled on quickly. I wasn't expecting to stick around forever, but I had a lot of fun playing.
I wanted to shout out the fact that Uncharted 4 also came out this year on PS Plus, and so I find it an interesting pick to go with Nathan Drake Collection over Uncharted 4.
3 great games versus 1. That's the argument.
2.5 great games. One and a half great games.
Someone's miscounting here.
Wait, well, I want to know what Barrett's 1.5 is.
Barrett doesn't like Uncharted.
I replayed all the Uncharted games on stream, and when I got to 2, like the last 2/3 of Uncharted 2, I think are really bad, but that's just me.
Wait,
like,
is that including the train
sequence?
Drinking Lazar running around with a shotgun?
Wait, what did you feel about the train sequence? Because that was the coolest shit ever.
The train sequence itself was so cool. It was like everything kind of building up before it and then after it, where it just like kept dragging on and on and on, and it never let up. It was the last 2/3 of that game is a lot. So
you're an Uncharted 3 over 2 person.
Yes, 100%. And then I'm an Uncharted 4 actually made the series great person. It was a good series, and then Uncharted 4 made it great.
I can buy that. I don't know if I agree 100%, but I see where you're coming from.
I agree, but you guys make an interesting argument of like being there in the moment and having those games be contemporary versus I don't have, it's definitely one of those things that I played, for Uncharted 1 13 years ago, right? And like I had a great time then. It was blown away by it then. And yeah, if I went back and played it now, would it just be dog shit like Halo Combat Evolved? I doubt it'd be that bad, but it definitely. Think about that. If I would have gotten hired at the IGN Xbox team, that's where my career starts, and they give me Combat Evolved, would have walked right back out. It would have been like, see ya. No, I didn't. This job ain't worth what you're paying. So yeah, a whole bunch of people, like I said, wrote in for Fall Guys. We've talked about that. Yeah. So other things we've been arguing about are already there. Janet, you have to decide. The world turns its eyes to you. Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, Bugsnax or Fall Guys?
Bugsnax.
Bugsnax?
Yeah.
There you go.
This is why me and Janet are homies, because we're aligned. We agree with a lot of things.
Yes, kindred spirits. For me, when I think best PS Plus game, like I do think that there's an element of value that is, a valid way to look at it, and thus the Uncharted collection is like a cool one, even if I don't like love that collection. But to me, what I like about like PS Plus games or like the games with gold or any of these services is it provides and highlights games that may have otherwise fell under the radar. And with Uncharted, I just think that's definitely not the case with those two. Bugsnax and Fall Guys, I think they're kind of interchangeable in that way. For me, I just liked Bugsnax more. I also think like, I don't know, it's less like Fall Guys is kind of a continual like for fun, like possibly marquee thing that could be part of like PlayStation Plus history. But I just think Bugsnax is more, this is the kind of game that you might not have played that now you played because it was a PS Plus game. And I really like Bugsnax. So yeah, it's Bugsnax.
Bugsnax was also on my short list for best trophy list. And of course, full disclosure, my wife did vote for Bugsnax, but I didn't vote for any of this. So she couldn't have paid off everybody. But yeah, like I thought it was such a great trophy list of just go through and play the game and collect all the bugs and have fun
I still randomly say Bobsicle like whenever I get a chance in my regular life, which comes up way more often than
for me.
It's
Bunger.
Bunger's good too. I also Strabby. Who could forget?
Yeah, of course. Lest we forget. Well, Janet Garcia from IGN, thank you so much for doing this with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
No problem. Remember, flannel that's better. Don't be mean to anybody. I'm just joking.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye. All right, then. Now you have 2 categories left, and there are definitive winners. Janet's services are no longer needed. So let's pivot to best PlayStation character. As I said, there are no more tiebreakers needed. This is a unanimous decision. Myself, Blessing, and the audience all said Abby from The Last of Us Part 2. Blessing, why did Abby stand out to you?
I think Abby was just a very well developed character. This was actually a tough one for me, looking back through all the PlayStation games that have come out, because I was very close to putting a Final Fantasy VII character in here, and also Kasumi from Persona 5 Royal. And I think where I kind of came down was Final Fantasy VII Remake has probably my favorite cast of characters. When I look at Aerith, Barrett, Cloud, and the rest, it's their relationships with each other that I really love, and the way they talk to each other and all that stuff. But yeah, if we're talking about characters specifically, I think Abby's arc in The Last of Us Part 2, where she goes from, and how are we treating spoilers?
I would say right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna say it is we're spoiler filled for The Last of Us Part 2. So if you haven't played Last of Us Part 2, I would skip this and the next category probably too, because Last of Us obviously is going to come up when we talk about exclusives. Is it going to win? You'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so no holds barred.
If you don't want, gloves are off. It's spoiler town for Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, Abby's arc from being a character that we despise and hate and cannot stand to then becoming this character through which we identify with and understand, and we like. Abby's character development in that game is so good that it made me dislike Ellie at points. Like legitimately, by the time I got to the end of the game, I was like, Ellie, please just stop, because this is not like you don't need to do this. Like this is fruitless. You don't need to do this. Abby's character, I think, is just done so well in that way. And also shout out to the to flashback Abby. Also, I love the first flashback where you go back and it is her dad, and he's trying to free this deer. And like you're like assisting him and all that stuff.
Zebra?
Like was it? Oh yeah, it was Zebra. Yeah.
Play this game, Blessing. God,
I watched all the cutscenes.
I watched all the cutscenes 4 months before release.
Exactly. I mean, you could have probably. But like, yeah, that's a scene from that game that kind of sticks out to me, right? In terms of an introduction to this character that we fucking despise, and then in turn flipping it on its head and making us care about her. I think was just very well done.
Yeah, Abby's my choice here too, because I think she's one of the most, if not the layered characters we've ever seen in video games, right? And I think it was so, for me, I'll never forget playing it here for review. And again, I had stayed pretty spoiler free. Like I knew that Abby was going to kill Joel. I knew that he died by a golf club. But I didn't expect it to happen so early. And so when we got to Abby's confrontation of Ellie at the theater, and she pops up, right? My initial reaction was like, oh my God, I'm already beating this game. Like I've only put in 14 hours or whatever. I thought it was gonna be way longer. And when it went, we pick up as her and it's day one, I was like, oh. And I remember being crestfallen, and I turned it off when I got to a safe point for the night and went to bed, and waking up and being like, man, like they'd done such a good job of ramping up to that confrontation that I was so ready for it there. I wanted to see what happens next. And now to know that I'm gonna have to play, 7 more hours, 8 more hours, I was just guesstimating at the time, through her story to get back to that thing, like what a blow to momentum. And I remember being like, I know what they're gonna do. They're gonna put me as Abby now and try to make me sympathize with her and understand that, violence begets violence, yada, 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 blah. I'm like, that's so trite. And I remember falling in love with her so gradually that it wasn't until she was on the walkway, the giant crane, right, and slipping, and the emotion in her face and the fear of heights, that it finally hit me that I really liked her, that I actually was in with this story, and I wanted to see what she was doing. And it started dawning on me that I was like, and I know this sounds silly, but remembering all the side characters' names and stuff, and the way that in the beginning with Ellie, and there had been things of like, oh, where did they go? I don't know. Abby broke out of here and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. They're layering all that in. I wasn't expecting, maybe because I'm stupid, to then play as her and do all those different things. But to watch that, as you're talking about, the flashbacks, to see her relationship with Owen progress and then fall apart and then kind of reunite and go the way it went, right? And again, like, I'm not even giving you shit right now, but it was after the fact. And I think my platinum playthrough again of going through there with the idea that Future Days by Pearl Jam is the backbone of the narrative, right? And like just that if I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself. And seeing that through Ellie's perspective, right, of being Joel, then being Dina, and then from Abby's perspective of being her dad, and then being Owen, and seeing her find someone new to care about and have in her life, and in a not a romantic relationship, but in a familial relationship, right, and how that gives her the sunshine and the hope and the ability to go on, whereas Ellie, that wasn't enough because she had, like, Last of Us, we'll talk about the game, I'm sure, in a bit, but like in general, just how rich all these characters were, and Laura's portrayal of Abby, the writing of Abby from Neil and Hallie, like just the way this character progresses in this game is unlike anything we've seen before, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll never forget the line of it's Abby, Lev's sister, and they're trying to get away from I've forgotten like all the names of things in this game now. They're trying to get away from the
Seraphites.
Wolves. Yeah.
Not the Seraphites. Abby's people.
The wolves, yeah.
The wolves.
The wolves.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the skulls, and I was like, I don't. Shit. Yeah, I was like, it's not the skulls. They're trying to get away from the wolves, right? And like, I think that's where Lev's sister gets killed, right? And I forget the exact line that prompts this from Lev, but Abby's response is, "You're my people," right?
Oh,
and like,
it's when Abby starts killing other wolves after Lev's sister dies.
And remember, just so we don't get eaten alive, WLF, the Washington Liberation Front.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Abby starts killing wolves, and Lev's like, "Those were your people. Are you okay?" And Abby responds, "You are my people."
Yeah, you're my people.
Oh, and that was a good line.
That was such an amazing line, and it's delivered with such strength. And I remember that being the point where I was like, "Fuck, man, they did it! Like, they got me! Like, this is such a fucking amazing moment, an amazing character dynamic that they nailed 100%."
Agreed. Yeah. And again, the audience wholeheartedly believed that. If you didn't believe that, you likely believed in our second place victor, which was Ellie from The Last of Us Part 2. Number 3 was these three are all incredibly close. 3 was Astrobot, 4 was Miles Morales, and 5 was Jin Sakai. Ghost of Tsushima. For runners up here that I wanted to give them a shout out here. Jerica wrote in and said, Ellie, she obviously has been through so much, and going on The Last of Us Part 2 ride was a painful and sad experience with her. As the player, you got to experience her pain and suffering. Through her story arc, you finally get some resolution, and she makes a choice that makes sense for her character. Now, my life isn't nearly as intense as her situation, but it made me reflect on what's important, and it's necessary to take time for yourself and surround yourself with people that support you. Letting go is the moral of the story for me, and it's okay. It's smiley face. Kebabs wrote in alongside. Well, I'm going to read 2 here. Kebab says, Miles Morales. This is my first exposure to the character, and Miles is so good that he makes Peter Parker look like a totally underdeveloped blank slate. I know so much about Miles, what music he's into, what he's passionate about. By comparison, I only know Peter is Spider-Man, which totally isn't enough to hold up next to Miles.
Kebabs.
Have you not
watched Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, where are you?
What are you doing? Watch Into the Spider-Verse.
Hey, man. Kebabs is a busy cat out there. He can't see everything. You can't read every piece of Miles Morales fan fiction.
Also, you know what else is interesting about Peter? He takes pictures.
He likes Mary Jane, and he has responsibility. Great responsibility. Big Dylan J also wrote in about Miles and says, this is a difficult question with all the great and new and old PlayStation characters introduced in 2020, but the answer has to be Miles Morales. Coming off the success of Into the Spider-Verse and its message of anyone can wear the mask, Insomniac had the unenviable task to define their version of Miles Morales. The team could have easily stumbled here, but they took Miles and turned him into their own unique version of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, which I definitely agree with.
Yeah, the line is similar to again, slight spoilers for Miles, but it reminds me of the Abby line of "You're my people." Like at the end of Miles, when he's like, when the people are like, "He's our Spider-Man." It's like, fuck, man.
Yeah,
like,
fuck yeah, right, totally.
And I think that was the moment where it was like they really nailed defining their Miles and his place as the other Spider-Man in this universe.
Yeah, I fucking adore Miles Morales as a character and in that game in general. Final character shout out, though, was one I didn't see a lot of, so I wanted to give it a call out. Ryan Morton says, Barrett Wallace. Yep. His love of Marlene and his desire to make the world a better place for her was heartwarming. Plus that moment under the top plate where he's trying not to lose face with Cloud and Tifa by trying to act like he isn't scared of heights. As someone scared of heights, I felt seen. Barrett was awesome. Barrett.
Yeah, Barrow was on my list of like, man, there are a lot of good choices for this category.
Thank you.
There are multiple. You're welcome, Barrett. There are multiple scenes where Barrett's giving a speech, and I felt every single one of them.
You're like,
when he's,
let's go.
Yeah, when he's talking about how like the planet is dying, and he's talking about all these different things, right? And he talks about like these people are like. I cannot remember exact quotes today, but he's giving a speech about how like these people are working for essentially the oppressor, right? So they had to be okay with the fact that they are part of the system and they are that they are part of this evil. The way in which he delivers those lines, oh my god, I felt what he was saying, man.
Barrett's one of the best parts of that game.
Character.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
So congratulations, best PlayStation character of 2020, Abby, aka Laura Bailey. And then our final category, the best PlayStation exclusive. Where do you want to start, Plus? You want to hear the audience? You want to hear me? You want to go?
Start, because I feel like mine isn't going to win. I'll tell you that straight up. Mine is Persona 5 Royal. And this is a difficult category because there are like 4 or 5 games that I can think of, and I can make an argument for them all. Right? I can make an argument for Persona 5. I can make an argument for The Last of Us Part 2. I can make an argument for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I can make an argument for Ghost of Tsushima. And I can make an argument for Spider-Man Miles Morales, honestly.
Yeah,
I can make an argument for so many different games for this category, which I think signifies a very good year for PlayStation this year. Like it's been a fantastic year. But yeah, Persona 5 Royal is my choice, mainly because, Persona 5 is a game that I absolutely enjoyed, and Royal and every single one of the things they added in that game uplifted that experience, from the mechanics to improving the baton pass system to adding new characters that were very lovable to adding new story content that was awesome. Every single thing they added in Persona 5 Royal improved that experience in ways that complaints that I had for Persona 5, which are quite a few, like I didn't love a lot of the pacing of the dungeons in Persona 5. I didn't love the combat, I can't think of the word I'm thinking about, but I didn't love the combat in Persona 5. There are things they added in Persona 5 Royal that totally fixed pretty much every issue I had with when I talk about how I felt about Persona 5. And so, yeah, I've got to give it to Royal. It's one of my favorite games ever now. Like, it's pretty easy for me.
Hell yeah.
Great game. However, best PlayStation exclusive for the PS I Love You XOXO awards.
Beat the game, Greg.
I voted Last of Us Part 2, and the audience voted Last of Us Part 2 in an overwhelming landslide. I think it's just jumping off of what we were talking about with Abby, right? For me, for what everybody wrote in with too, of just like, I think The Last of Us Part 2 is unlike anything we've seen in video games before in terms of the quality of storytelling, the quality of acting, the quality of the music, the quality of the world, the quality of the gameplay. Like, I think that is such a incredibly high bar that was set. And I know it comes at the cost of crunch and a million other things and a lot of conversations we have to have as an industry and Naughty Dog as a company. But I still don't think that takes away from the achievement that people made here and the moves they make. And like I talked about it, at launch and at review, right? That I really do feel that it's more than a game, and it's in this space in the same way that great novels are and great movies are and great albums are, of things that you want to sit down and just discuss. I think that's one of the things I've missed the most this year in terms of video games and COVID and shows would be, I would love to have gone this year and done the normal rounds of PAX, RTX, E3, done meet and greets, and just got over beers, talk to people about this game and what they took out of it and what they felt out of it, and talk to the people that don't like it, that it didn't click with. You know what I mean? I think it's such a, we talk about the industry being so samey. We talk about PlayStation playing it safe. That was one of our most popular episodes this year. And this is so not that. From a gameplay perspective, maybe, I guess, it's iterating on what they already did, but on being able to take these two characters of Joel and Ellie that they know, Naughty Dog and PlayStation know you love and know you have an attachment to, and evolve them and change them and show that, they're not good guys. I think so many people lost the sight of the fact that Joel was not a good guy, right? In Last of Us Part 1, Tess spells that out, that they're not good people. But we see Joel through the eyes of a grieving father in Last of Us Part 1. We see him save his new family at the end of it. We see him then lie to Ellie, but I still think people looked past that. And so many people, those are the conversations I had about Last of Us Part 1 over the years, over beers at meet and greets, of having conversations about how I was like, Joel's the bad guy. Joe, I would never do that. And people are always like, well, you don't have a daughter. And I'm like, he doesn't either. And those kind of decisions to then get here, right, and see Ellie lost in the sea of rage and revenge and anger, and see Abby get her reward, get her light at the end of the tunnel that she's been striving for, and then get through it and find out her life is still fucking falling apart on the other end, and that she's lost Owen, the only other person she ever cared about. And to see all this stuff, like, I think it's so heartbreaking to see the people who, I was going to say haters, but I'm sure there are people who just don't like the game and have played parts of it or all of it, say, it's just a story about revenge and we already know how that's going to go, and yada yada. There's so much more to this game, I feel, and then it gets credit for sometimes from people who want to detract from it. But I definitely think it's going to be something we talk about a long time after this, and I think it's the best we did in 2020.
Yeah, I like it. It's definitely a game that I think accomplishes so much, and I think there's a lot of conversations we can have about The Last of Us 2, and I think that's one of the best things about it is it goes for so much, which means that there's so much that we can dig into. Because I know plenty of people who did not like the game, and I know there are plenty of valid reasons to not like The Last of Us Part 2. I think if you want to talk about like missteps there might be in terms of representation, or where the game was paced, or maybe you genuinely just didn't like certain characters. Like, I understand all those things. Like, for me, the things that I point to are like, I obviously love The Last of Us Part 2, but I do have critiques about pacing in the game and the ways in which, even though I think this is Naughty Dog in top form, there are things in which are Naughty Dog isms that very much shine through in this game in terms of stuff that we've seen in their games for generations now, that I feel like they rely on in terms of pacing and in terms of, oh yeah, we're going to wait for this character to do this thing so you can do this thing. Okay, cool. We're going to go to this monument in the background, and once we get there, there's going to be another carrot on the stick, and you're going to have to like go through the back door because the front door is blocked, and stuff that becomes predictable because it is a Naughty Dog game. Like, those are kind of the places that I look at, and now I'm like, okay, I wish they polished out these things. But overall, the ways in which Last of Us Part 2 nails what it's doing, it nails what it's doing. Like, we had talked about Abby, and Abby is such an accomplishment of a character, I think. Such a lovable character. And yeah, if we want to talk about performances, we want to talk about how good the game looks, if you want to talk about the details of the world, if you want to talk about how good the gunplay is and how fun the stealth is, like, there's so much that game is doing that I think is fantastic, that, you know, makes, obviously, I think very easily makes it one of the best games of the year.
Like I said, it was a landslide. I want to get Big Dylan J in here, who wrote, 10 years down the line, when we look back at the 2020 PlayStation exclusives, we're going to think of The Last of Us Part 2. Is this game perfect? Absolutely not. The most glaring issues with the game is its pacing and Naughty Dog's culture of crunch, but no other exclusive this year combined the storytelling, gameplay, trophy list, and discussion like The Last of Us Part 2 did. Tyler echoed The Last of Us Part 2, said aside from its technical prowess, the award-winning performances of the cast, the gameplay loop kept me engaged more than any other game, and most importantly, the story spoke to me on a deep level. The story took risks and did things that no other game I played did. I found myself learning from this game about life and how some people in the LGBTQ plus community might feel. While I can't identify and speak to the authenticity of the LGBTQ plus experience that was displayed, I got emotional on multiple occasions thinking about how unfairly people are being treated. Lastly, I didn't think I could like someone who killed one of the main protagonists of one of my favorite games, but damn it, they did it. However, even though it was a landslide, there was plenty of other shout-outs to go in there. Ghost of Tsushima saw a lot in there. Joey Beal said, Ghost of Tsushima, I totally got lost in this game and just looked forward to playing it every day. I'm not typically a do every side quest person, but I wanted to do everything in this game. The fact that they gave back and brought the great multiplayer component for free clinches it for me. And then Mark Patton wrote in and said, though I was a huge fan of the original, Final Fantasy VII Remake caught me completely by surprise. I didn't expect it to live up to a game that I held so dear to my heart, knowing that Tetsuya Nomura did not want to make this game again. The parts that followed the original were done perfectly, showing us that they could indeed make the remake that we wanted. A game exactly like the original, but current gen. Then Nomura looked into my soul and told me to go fuck myself. Not only did this stubborn man not make the same game again, but the subtext of the story could be seen as a real-life comparison to us, the original fans, parentheses, the Whispers, pushing him to make the same game while he forces the player to fight against that. Square Enix gave me a big fuck you, and I'm glad. We live in a gaming industry where remasters are normal, but never have we gotten anything like this. A good year for games, Blessing.
A great year for games.
Congratulations. The best PlayStation exclusive is Last of Us Part 2, and all the ones that were nominated as well. Now, Blessing, one of the things I put on the questionnaire was your award categories for us. Of course, we played it safe and kept it loose with these 5. I asked people to write in with what they'd want to see us go through and do. Dwight Wilt said, you could possibly do this. Best comeback/backlog game. Something that maybe you missed in the past that you finally got around to this year and it made an impact on you. Blessing, I put together this list. I looked at it. My backlog time is generally this time of year when I get to the end of the year to see what I missed. And that's where I'm thinking of things like Spiritfarer, where I'm thinking of something like Pathless, where I'm thinking of something like Cardo. So I don't have a good answer for this. Do you?
I would say Telling Lies. Telling Lies is the one
great one.
Yeah, we both played for PSILOVEPHOTOMODE XOXO.
Well, I played it last year. It was one of my game of the year for
did you?
iPad. Yeah, when I played it on iPad/PC.
Gotcha. And so I played it for the first time in 2020, and I had a fantastic time with the game. And of course, you can go back and listen to that PSLV episode if you want to get the whole breakdown and everything. But yeah, no, that's definitely up there for me as far as a backlog game I played this year that meant a lot to me and that had a big impact. And there are a couple of puzzle games I played this year that came out technically last year, but came out on PlayStation this year, being Manifold Garden, that I absolutely adore, and Superliminal, which I really love. And the one other one I want to shout out is Star Wars Racer, which I got very into during a weekend. Yeah, that the port came to PlayStation this year, and when I tell you I played the mess out of that game, I played a lot of Star Wars Racer right when that came out, and I had a blast with it. Shout out to that.
Did you ever figure out the platinum bug that you ran into?
My assumption is if I want to actually get the platinum, I have to replay the whole game again with the deactivated cheats. And so I'm just not gonna
cheats. Oh yeah.
Well, I forget exactly what cheat it was. It was a specific cheat that I used that like I thought I needed in order to get a certain trophy, and I think it might have worked out. Like I can't remember exactly.
Are you talking
what it was.
about like the crazy boost one or whatever?
No, it was like a unlock characters cheat, and honestly I think it worked. I think I unlocked that character and then got the trophy for it. But then it made it so that when I got to the end, a certain other thing was locked and I couldn't actually get the character. It was something weird that happened, but
I might go for that.
Either way, I don't really care too much. I had a fun time with the game.
Yeah,
so.
I was on that same level when you started playing it. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try, and it was fucking fun to go back to.
It was awesome.
I'm cheating a bit on this one, but looking through my trophies while this one, I guess this is a weird one. It's not a backlog as much as a comeback, but it would be Fortnite, where I go through these hot and cold streaks with Fortnite that'll sometime last years, as it's turned out. But with the Marvel season this year, I thought they fucking crushed it. And then, me, Barrett, Joey, Blessing, and Kevin were playing so much Fortnite there at the end of the Marvel season, then into the new one. But then I switched off for Cyberpunk. I know you guys are still going crazy with it, Barrett. Like, I think Fortnite, as always, what an amazing game, let alone something that they update and keep so current to bring me back and keep its hooks in me.
We're trying to play some this weekend. We're trying to get some of that best car armor.
What's up? I can be down for something. Fortnite.
I was playing with Poe's son last night, which still blows my mind. We were having some great runs there and stuff, and it's always right there. But my problem is, I still want to. I want to feast on Cyberpunk. I still haven't feasted on Cyberpunk. I haven't had that.
I get that.
I've only had a couple. I want like the fucking 5-hour session. You know what I mean? And like right now I'm doing it in a long play, breadcrumb thing, which is great. And it actually works really well for it because it is like, oh, I'll do this main quest and then I'm going to go to bed. Or, oh, I have an hour. Let's do a bunch of little Night City crimes or whatever before we move. Like it's great. But I do love that game so much that I want to go through and do all this stuff in it. It's going to be my break. So I don't know. I need to get the junk out of my system. You know what I mean?
I want to feast on it, but it won't let me because it always fucking crashes.
Yeah, I looking through this, I thought this was an interesting one. Nanobiologist wrote in with his category. He said the 2020 game that was released elsewhere that you would want to see brought to the PlayStation platform. Blessing, what's your pick?
Oh, my pick is Cyberpunk 2077.
And that's like I want to play through and beat the story because I want to like delete it off of my console because it takes up so much hardware space. But like, and the fact that it's taken off of the store makes me feel like I need to beat it before I take it off my console because like even if I have it purchased, can I still download it?
You can still download it. Yeah, you own it. You own it. Yeah, you'd still be able to get it after the fact. That's a great response, Bless. It's a great question for the category too. Mine, hands down, without a doubt, is Hades. I wish Hades had made the crossover already. And like, don't get me wrong, I have it. I bought it on Epic Game Store when it was in early access. I have it on Switch, but obviously I want to play it for trophies and have some fun times out there. I can only imagine that's coming next year sometime.
Hades is so good.
So good. Takibi says best setting for a game in 2020. For me, I'm gonna have to go with Tsushima and Ghost of Tsushima. Like, I thought that world was so gorgeous. I took so many photos in it. I loved, opening up slight spoilers for the map of this. There's 3 different areas of Tsushima. Finding out that I didn't expect that. I've been running around area 1 so much, which was varied and beautiful and had those flowers and those fields you'd go through, right? And that dark forest you'd come in where like the light is like blocked out by the trees connecting to each other. To then go on and find like, oh, snow, oh, rainy and mud, oh, like all these different things to it. Like, that was a world I loved and I just loved existing in. And it's one of the reasons I think I like the trophy list so much, is that I just wanted to explore and I just wanted to see everything. And I just wanted to climb up that thing over there and figure out what's going on there and get to that shrine and find that fox and do all that stuff. Like, I think Tsushima was awesome.
Yeah, for me, it's Seattle in The Last of Us Part 2. Probably the biggest reason being I used to live in Seattle. And so having that experience of going through the game and seeing the convention center and me being like, oh, shoot, I've been here for hella conventions now. Like, I'd recognize this place, and getting to the aquarium. And I remember the line of, I forget, I think it might have been Owen and Abby talking. And they were like, oh yeah, people used to come here and they used to look at the fish and they used to like hang out and do all this stuff. And me thinking back to years ago of being at that same aquarium with my sister and my nephew and us hanging out there, like that brought out this emotion in me while playing the game that I didn't expect to feel in that specific way, that I thought was really cool. And then, yeah, overall, like Seattle is just very well depicted in The Last of Us Part 2 in a way that I really appreciate. It just looks beautiful. All the grass, the water sections, all that stuff, pretty fantastic.
Totally. And final one I want to do
really quick. I want to shout out Lost Heaven from Mafia Definitive Edition.
Oh,
it was a really great remake, and that was one. It just kind of came out at the right time, and it hit for me as like a very like linear single player game, but there was still kind of this city that you can explore. It was very pretty and detailed, and I just really think they nailed that 1930s prohibition setting. So just I want to give some love to Mafia.
Final one comes from Salvatore, who says, maybe for this category, maybe most promising game or studio, something like that. Blessing, how did you interpret this? Where'd you go with it?
I'm going to say most promising studio / game, I'll say Astrobot and Asobo Studios. Like, I cannot wait for whatever the next step is for Astrobot. I can't wait for whatever the next step is for Asobo. I believe that's their name, right? Asobo, I'm not getting that wrong. The quality in which they put into
I think it's Asobi.
Asobi?
Yeah, Team Asobi with an I, not an O at the end.
Gotcha, yeah. Asobi.
That's why I was Googling. I was like, wait, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, as soon as I said it, I was like, that sounds off, but I can't tell why. Yeah, no, the quality that they put into Astrobot's Rescue Mission and now Astro's Playroom, I think speaks for, or I think shows that they can consistently put out such a quality product in a way that I trust that whatever they put out next is going to be something similarly fantastic. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Like, anybody can get cyberpunked, but I'd hope that's not the future for them.
See, this is the PSI Love You Awards or whatever, so it doesn't count. I was talking about this today on Games Daily with Imran, right? Where it's basically the Dark Knight again, where it's die the hero, live long enough to become the villain. When we were talking about like cyberpunk and all this stuff and how they went from being this God among men or whatever during Witcher 3 to now being like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you lying?
Yeah.
This isn't, again, I know it doesn't, they have done PlayStation games, but this isn't promising because this would make it sound like they don't know what they're doing. This isn't my official pick, but I was talking about Supergiant, where like Supergiant is poised, I think, to really cross over into mainstream success at some point. And I don't know if it's Hades. Hades is obviously very mainstream. People play it and love it, but it is still, Supergiant is still a gamer's developer. They haven't had that crossover where they're like on a grander stage or whatever, but they make all the right moves and they make all these awesome games. And even when the games don't connect for me, I know people love them and adore them that way. But that's beside the point. For most promising game / studio or whatever, the one I that still sticks with me when I think back on this year of all the stuff we played, Aggro Crab. This is the developer that made Going Under. And Going Under, of course, that it's the roguelike, you're the intern that I was talked about, where you go through and you're going into these different failed apps and beating all the things in there and then beating a boss and picking up weapons and chairs. And it's really funny. The gameplay was great. It was a beautiful world. I really enjoyed playing it. I'm fascinated to see what they do next. Because again, that's another game that came and went. And I don't think it's like the most underappreciated PlayStation game by any stretch of the imagination. It was a fun indie that came and went. But I'm excited to see what their next game would be and where their talents are going to go in 2021 and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, those are your PS I Love You XOXO awards for 2020. Thank you so much for being so vocal about them, being so involved with them. All of your write-ins.
Beyond.
We love and appreciate you. Beyond. For now, let's check in with our advertisers. Remember, of course, if you don't want to have ads, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. But if you're about to hear the next part, you didn't, and I got to ask why. This episode of PS I Love You XOXO is brought to you by Wonder Woman 1984. This film is the right movie at the absolute right time, giving audiences both a chance to escape and to hope. An all-new chapter in the Wonder Woman story, Wonder Woman 1984 finds Diana Prince living quietly among mortals in the 1980s, the era of excess, a world driven by the pursuit of having it all, an era completely different from where we last saw Diana. Though she's come into her full powers, she maintains a low profile, curating ancient artifacts at the Smithsonian and performing superheroic acts incognito. Real quick, since I've already broken, how cool is it that we got sponsored by the Wonder Woman movie? You know what a fan I am. All right, back to it. Sorry. But now, Diana will have to step directly into the spotlight and muster her wisdom, strength, and courage in order to battle the cheetah and save mankind from a world of its own making, proving she is a hero for our time, for all time, for everyone. The film has a great story, peppered with fun and humor, and even more of those intense, exciting Wonder Woman-style action scenes you loved from the first film. Full of heart, hope, and a bit of mystery, intense, epic action sequences, and a few surprises, everything you want from a Wonder Woman movie. Just like in the previous Wonder Woman film, there'll be something for everyone to enjoy, but also a lot for tried and true fans to love, like me. The fate of the world is once again on the line in a way only you could ever imagine, and only Wonder Woman can save it. In theaters and on HBO Max on December 25th, streaming on HBO Max at wonderwomanfilm.com for a limited time of 31 days from its original theatrical release in the US only, and at no extra cost to HBO Max subscribers. Go to wonderwomanfilm.com to check out Wonder Woman 1984 on HBO Max for a limited time of 31 days from its theatrical release in the US only and at no extra cost to subscribers. The next sponsor is Every Plate. Experience full plates and fuller wallets with America's best value meal kit. Get meals you'll enjoy and your bank account will love delivered right to your door. Think of it this way. One meal is the same price as one cup of coffee. Every meal dinners are the cheap alternative to takeout or delivery. Recipes come together in about 30 minutes, definitely faster than a trip to the grocery store and starting a meal from scratch. Every Plate offers contactless delivery to your doorstep so that home cooking on a budget can be safe and friendly. Every Plate's easy to follow recipes and pre-portioned ingredients take the stress out of dinner time. Every Plate does the meal planning, shopping, and prepping for you, taking the time-consuming guesswork out of it all. Every Plate now offsets 100% of their carbon emissions. That's what it was. Sorry, you know how it is. This is one of those things that Blessing has been using. You know, he's been cooking more and more this year. He has Every Plate, and so far from what I hear, he loves it. So you should get on that too, right? Of course, this is what it's all about. Every Plate, their whole thing is that they're one of the, the lower price point food delivery boxes. So you can get in there. And if you didn't want to, invest that much in it before, now you can get right in there. Get 3 weeks of Every Plate meals for just $2.99 per meal by going to everyplate.com and entering the code PSILOVEYOU3. Again, that's 3 weeks of Every Plate meals for only $2.99 per meal by going to everyplate.com and entering code PSILOVEYOU3. And that's the numeral 3. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, our last sponsor here, Jeopardy. I want to talk to you guys about Play Show Jeopardy, a new Jeopardy game available on PlayStation, Xbox, and Windows. Play Show Jeopardy is a way to experience the fun and excitement of being in a game show in your own living room. It can be played alone and with friends and family, and enables what you've been doing all the time, yelling at the TV. Never before has there been the chance to participate with your voice just like a real contestant using actual episodes of Jeopardy. Experience the history of Jeopardy from your couch, 80s, 90s, and all the way to the present. Discover an endless world of knowledge. The game combines your console and your mobile device so you can buzz in and speak your answers just like you're on the show. I was just playing it actually. It's actually really cool. You turn it on, you create your little profile, but you scan a QR code on your TV or enter into web address. Then you write your name like they do on the Jeopardy screen, and then you watch an episode of Jeopardy. These are classic real episodes that aired on Jeopardy. You watch the episode, and then you buzz in, and then if you enable your microphone, which I did, you speak your answer. It comes up on there and gives you the points, awards you back and forth, and trophies are pretty good. I got a couple just playing. Just saying. You can play by yourself, or up to 3 players total can play the game across different eras and additional DLC packs with favorites like Teen Tournament, Road to the All-Stars, and All-Star Captains Classics. In fact, the game is 20% off in the PlayStation Store from December 22nd to January 19th, and on Xbox from December 29th to January 4th. Go to PlayShowTV.com and start playing Play Show Jeopardy now. How'd you like that ad? You know what I mean? Blessing, the final show of 2020 for PS I Love You XOXO means we have to blow the dust off of the Fantasy Critic League we did. If you remember, early on this year, ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Dornbush, Gio Corsi, and Callie from GameSpot came over here to join our PS I Love You fantasy draft, where we would draft just PlayStation exclusives, or games that were coming to PlayStation, not exclusives, my apologies. Games that were coming to PlayStation over at fantasycritic.games. We had a little league. You get points, you get a budget. It's awesome. It's fun. I want to make sure we do it next year with a bigger cast. I think we'll probably do it on Gamescast so we can have a whole bunch of different people and just, the industry at large. You can go check on ladies and gentlemen, at kindoffunny.com/PS League. It's time to go through what are basically the final rundowns here. And it didn't go the way I think, it didn't go well for Greg. And that's the thing. And it went so badly for Greg that Jonathan Dornbush beat me.
Jesus. How?
If you remember, Dornbush, he wasn't nearly as into it as me and Bless were, but he did build out a real list and keep it up to date to some level. But that fucking horror game I did really fucked me over. And then Blessing just had such an amazing thing. So final things are, as I already conceded to Blessing, obviously, a long time ago. I know you all listen to the show every week, Blessing is in first place with 135 points. Now, some of those points, come on now. You got a critic of 80 there for Cyberpunk 2077.
Complicated. And honestly, I'm down to take a 70 for that game. That game's not on PlayStation anymore. I'm down to be like, all right, let's not count that.
Dude, you can
still win, but
yeah, exactly. You'd win by a mile. It doesn't even matter. So Blessing in first place with 135, Dornbush in second place with 70 points. I'm going with the rounded up scores if you're looking at the site, and then me with 69 points. Nice. Right behind Dornbush. That's nice, yeah. But that remothered broken porcelain fucking faux pas I made, negative 26 points. I was never able to ever come out of that. Never able to get back from that.
That's rough, man. I'm sorry.
But it was also that thing. Once we lost, it was like I was just Hail Marying it, right? I still have a blank spot here. Overwatch 2 I put on there just in case, in case that was going to come through. I still lose the 7 points for Carry On, so I even lose to Dornbush by more. I guess I really have 62 points.
Wait, you lost? Oh no, I see what you did there.
Remember, that was when I took the bet that Carry On would eventually make it here.
Yeah. I am very excited to do this next year. Now that we've done it and we know the rules and we know what we can do.
Yeah.
Because I think next year is going to be very competitive when we look at the release slate, because we're looking at God of War, Horizon,
Halo Infinite. I mean, that's the thing, is when you can start expanding it to other games, that's when it gets really fascinating.
Yeah, and Overwatch 2 probably will be next year, I imagine. And there is a lot of good pickings.
Question mark?
Oh yeah, Breath of the Wild
totally.
question mark.
And that'll be the thing of when I forced Tim to do this on Gamescast, I want to make sure we do it early and get all sorts of those. Yeah, you don't know what's coming, and then E3 and jumping off of that. Yeah, but yeah, for the record, I had never done or even heard of Fantasy Critic .games before we did. This is not a sponsorship, of course. By the way, this is just something I forget if
I brought it up.
You did? Yeah, you did. And you heard about it from Easy Allies, or the Easy Allies were just doing it as well?
Yeah, I heard about it years prior from Easy Allies, and I watched theirs. And I'd done this fantasy draft before, and so I have experience. And so, I mean, of course I was going to win. I'm the king of this.
King of Halloween.
He's the king. He's not the king of Halloween. He's the future class of video games, the king of Fantasy Critic.
Doing it in previous years made me realize that, this would be a fun thing to do and kind of funny. And so next year, no matter how we do it, whether it's here again on Gamescast, I think we'll be prepared. I think it'll be more of a back and forth rather than this domination. Well,
Blessing, I congratulate you. Great job out there. Very proud of you. Very proud of you.
It.
You did me well. I did hear from Jeff Keighley, this dominant performance is what tipped you into the future class.
Oh, thank you, Jeff
Keighley. It was
Keighley.
between you and Gary Whitta, and this is what pushed you in front of Gary Whitta and Animal Talking. So
that's wild, because that's what they call Gary Whitta all the time, the future of the video games industry.
Do they?
I don't know. By the way,
that's a joke because he's old.
This is very random. I did have a dream a few nights ago that Gary would have won Content Creator of the Year.
Hey man, you can make a case for it. You know,
honestly, like
when he pivoted to talking Fall Guys or whatever the fuck it was, that's when it was like, all right, Witta, you've gone too far. But that's when he had
and
more
that was part of the
confidence
dream. Like that's what the dream was like Animal Talking was so successful and so popular that he got the votes and he was able to win Content Creator of the Year. And everybody kind of funny was like, whoa, we got 2 trending gamers or whatever. And then I woke up and I was like, oh, it's a Tuesday.
Oh God, I gotta do work.
Yeah.
I shut the wrong window there. Hold on, let me throw it back open. Ladies and gentlemen, your final segment here before we go to the post show on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames is of course hashtag #PSILOVEPHOTOMODE. You remember the way it works is simple. We like photo mode, you like photo mode, we love photo mode. So every PS I Love You XOXO, we alternate between Blessing and myself. We tell you what game we want to see you take photos in. Then you put them up on Twitter with the hashtag PSILOVEPHOTOMODE. We run through 2 runners up and a winner here. What do the runners up and winners get? Nothing. They're here on the page and they have some fun. Number 1, Barrett, you want to throw it up there? It's Raccoon21 who put this one up. Says Taking Control. It is of course Cyberpunk, but it looks just like Control from
awesome.
Remedy Games. Very nice. If you're an audio listener, it's red, it's black, it's got the Cyberpunk logo on there,
and
very hot.
They're inside like I think the hotel, so it looks kind of like the inside of like some of the stuff from Control.
What do they call the house? The house? What do they call a house?
Oh, the
house.
The foundation.
Foundation.
That's the update. That was the update.
I don't know.
Something
Simon,
house.
Simon
The
Cardy
oldest
knows.
house.
The oldest house. That sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah. Let me look it up.
Does Simon Cardy really know?
I don't know. He
Don't look
seems
it
like
up.
one of
Let's
those
see if we know if
kids.
Simon Cardy knows. Stop looking it up. Put your hands down.
Okay.
Are you looking? Is he Barrett?
Nope.
Tell me if he's looking it up right now.
He's not looking it up. His hands.
If
are
he's
off
looking
the
it up,
keyboard.
but does he have one of those keyboards that can split apart and do things?
He's in a T-pose. He's like one of those cyberpunk characters.
Okay.
The T-poses are hilarious. I forgot to because I did the list of bugs in my review that I encountered. I forgot to include a bunch of T-posing that happened when I was playing that game. Like they would T-pose and then un-T-pose and then T-pose again, like over and over again. And again, never game breaking, but hilarious.
Man, that game, it finally started clicking with me the other night.
Yeah.
I started doing the Delamain.
The car missions are great.
I love
so
Delamain.
good.
Save this for the post show. Right now, well, I guess we're still talking about Cyberpunk, so that does make more sense. Anyways, number 2 is from another runner-up is Brendan Thompson over on Twitter. I like this one he put up. It's got the V in there. It's got the samurai logo. It's got the V character. It's got a very like movie poster vibe to it, which I dig.
That's really cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Looks like it could be a computer background. Looks like it could be a poster you see on the AMC when you leave. Samurai, Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I wonder if this is like an
Clean,
overlay or if you found a way to make this. This
Yeah,
has
I
to be
don't
an
know.
overlay, right?
I would think so, but I don't know. And I didn't do any research on it. You know what I mean?
Either way,
Next time I submit one, if you just put in a photo of your dog with hashtag PSILOVEYOU or PSILOVEPHOTOMODE, maybe I'll think that, oh man, do you know there's full-size dogs in this game, whatever it was. And then our winner is Matt Yu. Matt Yu put this one and said, all the cool kids are doing this one. So here's mine.
That's cool.
Hashtag PSILOVEPHOTOMODE. If you click on it, it's a little bit bigger. It's the recreation of Akira, but here in the cyberpunk world. Yeah, the motorcycle
shot.
Yeah.
I like the tire mark there, and then of course his V walking over to it. Very, very cool. And he says all the cool kids are doing it. I hadn't seen it yet, so it was new to me. Remember, you don't have to be original. Yeah, I don't know what's new. I don't know what's old. I don't know what people have done before. Get out there and have some fun. You know what I mean? Blessing. Correct. You get to call the ball. We're going away for a week plus. What do you want to be the PS I Love Photo Mode? Hashtag PS I Love Photo Mode when you come back.
Since we're going on holiday break, I want holiday themed photo modes. And so I don't care about the game. Just give me your best, whether it's a Christmas event going on in GTA or a snowy level in a game, anything that just comes off as holiday themed, I'll pick.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been PS I Love You XOXO for 2020. Thank you so much for all your support, love, appreciation of this podcast. Your support, it goes so far. Remember, of course, the best way to support is patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, where you can be on the show. You can get your questions right on the show. You can be photo mode. We can do photo mode without it. You can usually get squatted up and do all that stuff. Of course, you can get it with the post show we're about to do. You can get the show ad free, and you can just say, hey, you guys are doing a good job. Remember, If you have no bucks to toss our way, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, podcast services around the globe each and every week. Above all, remember, January 4th, 2021, we are back with our 6th anniversary, twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, all the new announcements and whatever that might mean. I won't say anything else because I almost screwed it up. Things will be happening, and you will want to hear about them on January 4th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Of course, you can catch it later on social medias where we usually break it out in the stream parts. If any of them are good, we'll get broken out somewhere else too, I'm sure. But for now, thank you so much for an amazing year in spite of really not amazing circumstances. It's been incredible to serve you. We love and appreciate each one of you. Have a happy holiday. And no, until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.